The People's Republic, How It All Began, Dissolving Illusions. Throughout the course of time, American government has attempted to indoctrinate the very people that created their seats and positions. They have tried to indoctrinate us to believe that we have a top-down government where the federal government rules over the states, and that the common law, which is the very foundation of our framework for government, is the last resort. Today we set the record straight. The Declaration of Independence. The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the cause which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established shall not be changed for light or transient causes, and accordingly all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government, and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former system of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over the states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. What were some of the king's usurpations? He refused to approve laws protecting the common good of the people. He called legislature together to strong-arm them into submission to push his demands on the people. He removed representation for opposing his invasions on the people. He refused election of others. He obstructed laws granting naturalization of foreigners and giving them new lands. He made judges dependent on his will. He sent officers to harass the people and take their possessions. He cut off trade with other parts of the world. He imposed taxes without consent from the people. He deprived the people of trial by jury, and he excited domestic insurrections. Sound familiar? Because of all the overreach in government, the people made many attempts to petition their government for redress through the use of the law. But after numerous attempts at their demand for remedy, they declared their independence from their tyrannical government, thus creating the first 13 states in America. Independent states, and as independent governments within those original 13 United States. They dissolved the powers that Great Britain held over them and declared that power to the people of the states. This was done before any state or federal constitutions were created. To prove this, let's take a look at some dates. Here are some important dates in history. July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence. September 17th, 1787, the United States Federal Constitution was created. In April 30th, 1789, George Washington was inaugurated as the first president of the United States. So after declaring their independence, it was 11 years before a federal constitution was made and 13 years before the first president was established, which leaves the question, how were they governed? Let's look at some more dates. This gets good and sets up the proven case that will destroy all government servants that wish to claim that the federal government was created first and controls the states or the people. The establishment of the individual state constitutions. Virginia, June 29, 1776. Pennsylvania, September 28, 1776. Delaware, August 27, 1776. New Jersey, New Hampshire, Maryland, 1776. Georgia, 1777. New York, April 20th, 1777. Massachusetts, 1779. Rhode Island, May 4th, 1776, and was the first American colony to denounce its allegiance to King George. Connecticut, 1662, through the Charter of Connecticut, and the first in the world to declare authority is in the free consent of the people. Notice how all these dates are at or before the Declaration of Independence, showing that they were already self-governing as a people under God before any state or federal constitution was created. It is important to know this because it shows that the people, not government, created government. It shows that the people created the state governments first and outlined the rights reserved to the people and the limitations placed on the government servants established for our republic from the common law, which is God's law and is the fundamental foundation in which our nation stands on. We need to know our rights and powers reserved to the people in order to preserve and secure our republic, in order to fully defend our liberties and freedom, to know where your government is acting outside of the boundaries outlined to them in the framework of the Constitution in your state and on the federal level, as well as how to correct your government by teaching them the fundamental principles of the People's Republic. The most important thing to know is that the common law, that is God's law, by the people created the states and hold power over the states and federal government. That the people also, as delegates of those states, created the federal government and constitution, and that both state and federal government's sole responsibilities are to regulate interstate commerce, levy war for protection from invasion, secure the people's inherent rights, and uphold the law of God, and that anything outside of that scope is a breach in the oath they swore to the people. That the people hold all political power and can alter, reform, and abolish at will anytime they step outside the boundaries of their duties to the people.